Hello and welcome back to another episode of Strong Collectors Comics. My name is Jordan, joined by my plucky sidekick Dakota. And today we are talking all things James Gunn's Superman. Now Dakota, you may have seen, James Gunn put out some updates on his Superman movie. It's really just a picture of the Superman logo, and it came with also news that the title's been changed from Superman Legacy to just Superman. And I've been thinking about this, and I've realized there's no one in my immediate vicinity that cares enough about a partial reveal of a Superman logo for me to share my thoughts. But this is the perfect place for it, because I know there's got to be other people out there that have some thoughts on this reveal. So, first thing right off the bat, it looks like it's kind of more akin to the Kingdom Come Superman logo. I don't know if you remember that one, Dakota. It's kind of more the like black and red, kind of like modular. It doesn't really look like an S. It kind of does, but not really.
Okay.
So it's got that pattern to it. Not really the traditional S. Maybe not as stylized as the Man of Steel one. And then it, of course, has the regular colors on it. I thought what was really interesting is the presence of the snow. Now, I feel like right off the bat, that to me says we're going to be for sure getting, at least in some capacity, the Fortress of Solitude, which I think was largely left out of like the Zack Snyder stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't really see anything like that. I mean, he kind of maybe, remember, went to like Antarctica and like found the ship or whatever.
Right.
But so right off the bat, I think that's kind of a cool detail for me, because I think that indicates what I'm very hopeful for with this one is that James Gunn is going to lean into more of the Superman lore, maybe some of the kind of more what might be considered like out there, outlandish aspects, like kind of the silliness of maybe him having a secret ice fort. Yeah. But I think that's cool, and I think that's usually kind of what he does with like, of course, Guardians of the Galaxy and the Suicide Squad, kind of taking what could be goofy and like reinterpreting it in a way that I think is kind of cool.
Yeah.
But this has kind of had me thinking in general about sort of what we may or may not be getting out of the new Superman movie. So I thought this would be a cool way to kind of say, what are we hoping for in this Superman movie, Dakota? There's a lot of opinions. Some people are like, you shouldn't have dropped Henry Cavill. James Gunn's going to make it too goofy. It's going to suck. Some people say it's going to be great. I think I would just like to know, Dakota, what do you want out of a Superman movie? And then I can let you know what I want, and we can see whether we think James Gunn is going to deliver.
Sure. I'm going to say I hope Superman is, like, fairly nerfed. Like, I want him to be powerful, but, like, I don't need him to be, like, fighting the biggest threat movie one. And that's kind of where I would like it to build a little bit more, where it's like, yeah, sure, Superman's powerful, but it's like we're going to see him kind of like holding back, but still struggling somehow. So maybe you're not like throwing Darkseid at him movie one. It's maybe he's like fighting Metallo or somebody. Like, I would want something a little bit more than Lex Luthor. You could throw Lex Luthor in there, and maybe he's the one hiring the more powerful villain. But like, I've always had a problem with like, it seemed like with Man of Steel, it's like, oh, here's the villains, and now level a city.
Right. Just they just destroy Metropolis, movie one.
Right. And it's
that could be like maybe movie 3 or something.
Yeah, exactly. Because like, where do we go from here if we have to keep like stacking the threats on top? Well, like Superman beat this threat that was able to level the city. All right, now we've got to like, level the country. Now we've got to blow the world up. And now it's, at some point, we're just going too far. Just give Superman, let him fight, knock down a building or two. That's enough.
I think that's a good point right away, because I think that's the trouble with a character like Superman, who is so powerful. Like, unless you're pretty creative with it, the only way to really challenge him is, just to say, well, you thought that guy was tough. This guy's even bigger and badder and stronger. And then the next one, you're like, well, you thought that guy was strong. Here's this, and then it's like, okay, at this point, it doesn't really have any meaning.
Yeah.
Or you just have to do the kryptonite thing, right?
Yep.
And that's kind of was like the Doomsday, like they just had to create someone so powerful he could kill him to be like, you got to do something here. So, I think that would take a pretty creative approach to find a way to do that, which I think would be cool to see. Because, I don't think it's interesting. Like, I think if you approach it where Superman is so powerful, like a lot of the time it's not really in question whether he's going to physically overpower the person he's fighting, right? And I think that is where you can maybe get a little more creative with it. So I think that's a good, right off the bat, just way to kind of approach Superman. Because I think, then you get that unending power scale thing. I'm hoping, personally, and I've heard some quotes from James Gunn about this, but I think kind of leaning into the dual identity part of sort of Clark Kent with Superman, right? Because I think with Man of Steel, you got, for me, he was kind of just like one guy. Right. He didn't really have this dual persona, which I think, and even in the MCU, you don't really have like secret identities so much.
Right.
When you think about it, right? Like maybe we got Spider-Man, but like Iron Man, his identity's public. Nobody really cares about Captain America, Hulk. Thor doesn't really have one. And I think that is a really cool part of comic books that I think could be explored pretty well. And I think he's talked a little bit about kind of, because he's casted some additional, like not top tier heroes, but like Metamorpho's supposed to be in it. And like Guy Gardner, Green Lantern, and like Hawkgirl. So I think he's talking about like he's got this kind of superhero life, but then he's also got his normal human life, right? And like those are kind of distinct identities that he goes between, which I think is a cool thing to explore, and I think is just kind of a unique part of the character. So I would love to see that kind of thing going on. I think, and again, I understood what they were trying to do with the Zack Snyder stuff, where he's kind of more postmodern, kind of gritty, I guess. Right. But I think that's not really the approach with Superman. I think what's cool about him is he's, to me, like the Captain America equivalent in DC, right? Yeah. Like he can get into bad situations, but he's usually like, I'm pretty optimistic, or like I'm hopeful, or I want to like find a way out of this. Almost to the point, like in Civil War, remember Cap and Iron Man, he's like, you're kind of annoying and plucky, but I love you because you're such a crucial part of like the team and what we do. So I think that would be neat to see, because even in the MCU, I think we've kind of lost that central character, like right. Captain America type. So I think if you do Superman well, you kind of set a really cool core character that can start to kind of unite whatever else is going to go on in the DC world.
I like that.
What do you think
and
of
I think that I like that version of Superman a little bit more than the overpowered, like more Injustice style, where it's like, I feel like that is probably a good way to take Superman, because it's like, he's so powerful as a hero. What are we going to do with him? Let's make him the villain, and now all the heroes team up to try to, that's now the conflict. But yeah, I would much rather see the movies take more of the like Superman's the Boy Scout, that kind of like you said, the Captain America, he unites people.
Well, and even in like, I remember in the Justice League cartoon, they had those moments where, like something serious. I think Batman, doesn't he like almost die, and he saves him, and he's like cracking a joke about it. And he's like, you can't joke today, so you could get him like develop that persona, and then maybe once he's developed that, you put him into some of these situations that are like, how does that outlook engage with like reality, more or less.
Or even, I think it's cool too when like, whether it's the cartoons or the comics, where it's like, we have an entire, like, you watch like 3 seasons, and then now the like villain at the end of season 3 is now Darkseid, and it's like, now Superman kind of like has that like super powerful like attack, and he's like, I've been holding back this whole time, now I can go crazy. And it's like, okay, now we can see Superman like be Superman, and like before, he's still like, it's a cool show, and like it's a cool character, you like him, but then you like him even more when he finally gets to cut loose, not when he's cutting loose the entire time. So
right. Yeah, kind of building towards that. Like, I think that's what is cool about this, is that, because I always said, I think Man of Steel was a cool idea to start with, and I think you should have done the Iron Man route of like, he would have been the foundation of the DC world. Right. And I think that was kind of where they got off course, was jamming everybody in there.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that as he's doing
But
this...
are they not just jamming everybody in there? You said they're adding Hawkgirl and Metamorpho and all these people.
Yeah, they are. That's true. And I've heard a lot of chatter of people saying, like, is this too crowded for a, Superman movie, right?
Yeah.
And I guess part of that will come down to how well he balances those.
Yeah.
I do think I think especially with, like, Guardians of the Galaxy, I think he proved he can do multiple characters and give them justice, even if they're not like the focus of the movie per se.
Yeah. All right, true.
And I think that might be a cool way. I mean, what I'm hoping for, I know we talked about this a little bit, but even like the notion of like a justice society, like maybe there were these older heroes that have like since retired, and Superman is almost like the first of this new.
Yeah.
Because I hope it's also not like we see him. I think I would be okay if it's kind of like The Batman or Spider-Man Homecoming, where like he's Superman. We kind of know Superman's deal. Let's go from here.
Sure.
Personally,
origin story.
I don't know. What do you think?
I would hope that we just kind of jump into it. I don't need a whole origin backstory.
I don't think we need to see him growing up on the farm and
throw in a couple flashbacks. That's all you need.
Yeah, I think it's one of those ones where it's like we get it. We know who you are. It's okay. You got a big S on your chest. We recognize you. And the other thing I think would be cool, and I grew up watching, like my older brothers were Smallville guys, and I know that one can be a little tough to revisit in some capacity because there's a lot of cheesiness as it's gotten older. I think Tom Welling was great though, and Michael Rosenbaum was also like perfect Lex Luthor. But I think what was so cool about that show is that you got that sense of he does have this power and he's super strong. But he is just like a guy. It's not like he's this messiah, god figure. He's like, I'm just a dude, but I happen to be probably one of the most powerful superheroes there is. And I think that's also an interesting take, kind of as a counter to like him being so powerful that he becomes corrupt and evil.
Right.
Like, how does he as a person be like, I could become that? And that's why like he is so focused on like his moral compass, more or less, because it's like I have this power and I could technically do whatever I wanted, but you kind of get the human side of it too. So I think that comes from understanding the character, and I feel like we've never, unless you go back to like the Christopher Reeve Superman, I think those have more of those classic elements, but it is kind of wild. We haven't really seen, I don't think, like a solid, true live action Superman for, I don't know what, like 50 years. Is kind of wild.
I agree with that, yeah.
But yeah, I think I'm really excited for this one, man. I think especially with kind of the state of Marvel, I think this is a really good chance for DC to kind of, I didn't think I'd be saying this, but sort of, step in and be like, all right, we're gonna really deliver. Right. And I think they have to know, like, there's that pressure, but there's also that opportunity to kind of deliver like a solid blockbuster superhero movie as Superman that also is just really high quality. So I'm pretty hopeful for it, and I'm looking forward to seeing more details as we move forward. But those are some thoughts we have on James Gunn's Superman. What do you think? Are you excited? Are you thinking it's going to be good? Is it going to be a flop? How do you feel about that Superman logo? Are you as interested in that topic as I am, just seeing a picture? But thank you for listening. Please be liking, sharing, subscribing. And until next time, stay strong.